Hey guys, Christy Arnett here with Mike Katz for this edition of Strategy. What's up, Mike?
How you doing, Christy?
Thanks so much for coming. So I figured today we could talk about playing against the amateur and playing against a calling station. So in the World Series of Poker, you'll find that the field is probably pretty weak. There's a lot of players who maybe this is their first time playing a big tournament. So when you notice, or what kind of things do you look for to know that they are a beginning player?
Well, I only lasted 2 levels. How do I really know anything? No. There's a lot of bad players, and you kind of have to figure out. There's different ways. Like these people have satellited in. Some of them are very, very tight, and you can really get them off any hand you want by just playing, betting big and stuff. And there's other players that are just never going to fold, and you really need to value bet and really just like try and get their get their chips with like marginal hands, and it's very easy to accumulate chips against them. You got to play a lot of like small pots, and when you have big hands, just get.
Okay. What are some telltale signs that someone might be a beginner?
Well, they sit down at the table all confused. They like sit in the wrong seat a lot of times, and they throw their bet sizes. They throw different amounts in, and just talking to them. A lot of times, I'll talk to the players, and you'll realize they'll be like all excited, and you can tell it's not their first time at the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what about when you're playing the clueless person? It's hard to get a read on them. Do you want to be playing only strong hands against someone that if they're so clueless about their hand, it's going to be hard for you to gauge the strength of their hand, right?
Yeah, a lot of times you want to just control the pot against them unless you have a really big hand.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do anything elaborate and really like check raise, bluff you. So you usually know where you are in the hand, and unless you have a really big hand, you can usually accumulate chips against these type of players, but you don't really want to let the pot get out of control.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what about when you're playing a calling station, someone who's so sticky? And I feel like when I see people playing against a calling station, they'll be playing not as good a hands, and like sometimes the calling station's going to wake up with a hand, even though they're calling with such marginal hands. So how do you want to play against those?
Yeah, a lot of times people will forget that they still have the same likelihood of having the winning hand when it comes, one person's going to have a better hand half of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to, again, somebody that's just going to call you down, you have to like put them on a range of hands throughout the hand. And then, I'll value bet very thin sometimes on the end and value bet myself. Like they'll have the winning hand, you'll be like, wow, how did he not ever raise me here? Yeah. So sometimes you give away a few chips, but like when they're calling, it's hard not to put in that value bet with like, top pair, or sometimes like a little bit better, like a little bit less, like second pair. But they're not going to check raise you, so you can't really lose your stack.
Okay, so value betting is much more important against a calling station because they're probably not going to raise you and put you in a marginal situation.
Well, if they raise you, they have you beat. So usually they're just a calling station.
Okay, and against the calling station, you probably advise against slow playing, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you have a big hand, you want to just get it in. You know they're going to call you. You want to bet a little bit bigger, and try and build the pot, and then give up some fake tells, and hopefully they'll call you in the end.
Okay. And a mistake I see a lot of players making is there's a calling station at the table, and all of a sudden the calling station is betting, and they still call down with top pair, but doesn't that usually mean strength? I mean, from a calling station who's like betting into you?
Yeah, but when a calling station is betting, you should really be careful. A lot of times I'll put in like against like a weak player, I'll put in a very small raise if I'm like really not sure where I am, because I don't want to call his bet. Like let's say he leads out on the turn, I don't want to call the turn bet and then a big bet on the river from somebody that I don't know if he's capable of bluffing. But you might want to just like put in almost a minish raise. They won't realize that you're trying to control the pot, and now even if they have 2 pair, they're just going to call and then check the river, and then you can just check behind, because you're not really sure where you are, and you want to see it really cheap. It's a good way to like see the river cheap. I mean, against a good player, they might kind of realize what you're doing. But
against the beginning player, who, sometimes beginning players, they'll have top pair, and you can read only strength from them. Does that ever mess with your mind, because you're like, I have an overpair, I think it's good, but this guy, there's no way he thinks he doesn't have the best hand.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem sometimes. Sometimes, like some people, will just like, I'll still like, if I have like 2 kings on 10 high and somebody's showing strength, like a lot of times, you might be like, this person has a set, but against a bad player, you're like, he really might think he has the best hand with ace 10 here. So sometimes I'll lose value because I'll try and control the pot because I'm not really sure. Depending on the pre-flop action and stuff, like if I'm really going to just, get it in. But, a lot of times I'll just control the pot and then they'll flip over ace-10 and you'll be kind of mad, like, but you avoid, like, losing a big pot, really, if you're unsure. Like, if you have, like, a big enough hand, then I'm willing to go with it, but...
All right. Do you have any advice for some people who are playing against amateurs in defense of trying not to be confused by their confusion?
Well, you can't let it tilt you. Like, a lot of people will get mad and be like, "What is it? How is this person playing like this?" And just keep betting really big, and they're gonna call you down, and you really like, and then you start bluffing the clowns, which really just doesn't make sense. Like there's times to do it and stuff, and like, sometimes like if you show a bluff, even if they call you in a small pot, that's fine because now they're gonna call you the whole way. Like I'll definitely get picked off a lot in little pots by like a clown, but. In a big pot, you usually want to have the winning hand against somebody that's going to call you down. And some people will just get stubborn and just think that they can just bet bigger, but these people will call it with like unbelievable things,
So would you advise against usually not trying to bluff a beginning player unless you can tell that it's their first tournament and they just don't want to go broke? Like most of the time, would you advise not bluffing?
You're saying against a
beginning player?
Well, beginning player is different. I mean, you have many beginning players that are just playing so tight, want to try and move up to the money, want to finish, top 50 when, 27 are getting paid. It doesn't make any sense, but somehow they're trying to move up and showing you that they're folding big hands. So, like, you just want to exploit their blinds, of course. But there's, many different kinds of bad players. But it's great playing, like when the blinds are big, playing against the tight bad players or new players because you're going to just, raise their blinds, and if they raise, you can re-raise them, and they'll show you hands like ace queen, ace king. Like I've had that in this tournament, and people just folding monsters, and it's like unbelievable. Like, it's clearly good, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Chris Arnett for Card Player TV with Mike Katz.